Question of the morning. Jordan Clarkson and the Utah Jazz. A buyout. It's all over. He's apparently headed to the Knicks. What are your favorite memories of the Jordan Clarkson era?
Oh, I've got one in particular.
We got
that
a lot.
Really stands out.
when he got bought out. Emmett, his plane leaving the airport.
What's that mean?
They just couldn't wait for him to be gone and get on with the rebuild. It didn't make any sense to them, and they're bitter.
Yeah, but I mean, he was a. How do you say it? He's so quirky, but he was so lovable, and he bought into it. Never complained, and the fans loved him. This is the most understandable separation since letter carrier.
This had to happen.
Yeah. Because back then, we know what the circumstances were, and okay. And people might say, why the Lakers, though, Carl? But he wanted to win, so I can understand it. And then here, he's 33 years old. He doesn't fit into the program. I mean, he only played in, 37 games last year?
Didn't lose
That's
any
like
tread.
A college season.
It is a college season, you're right.
Yeah.
Didn't lose any tread off the tires there. David Locke's theory on minutes and all that.
Right. I'd have to check that. I had looked at that a while back, but I think that's what it was. So, I mean, everybody understands he doesn't belong here anymore. But he never whined about it, and at least publicly that we know, maybe behind the scenes that I don't know about or whatever, and I certainly don't know everything. And then he'd go to a team that if I would love to see him in New York. They would love him there, man. They love the grittiness, you know that, and he has that.
And they love heat check guy getting buckets off the bench.
Yeah. And hopefully he can have more games in which he's hot than not.
As soon as I saw the news about the buyout, I thought, who are the good teams that we talk about that there's no bench? Because that's where he ought to end up, which is the Lakers, the Denver Nuggets. We did talk about that way with Phoenix. We'll see what kind of roster do they build. And the Knicks. It was all about Thibodeau.
Yeah, but I don't think
playing.
Phoenix is good enough.
Right.
No
that's,
point doing that.
I know. Thibodeau with the 5 starters play the whole game. So if it's the Knicks, that makes total sense to me. They don't have much of a bench. He can add to it.
Yeah.
Maybe a new coach will trust the bench more, so the bench will play better. I guess you get in a chicken the egg thing if you want to take a deeper dive on the Knicks there.
I don't.
But it made total sense to me that New York could be a landing spot.
Good, because if it doesn't make total sense to you, I don't even bother to try to understand
Well,
it.
you know me. I need my logic.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
if there's no logic, then I'm like, what are we doing?
We rely on you for logic. That's one of your strong points, man.
It's my go-to. There were a couple moments that came up multiple times. Derek, when the TV reporter asked him if he went to a lot of Utah Jazz games.
Yeah.
No
a
doubt
lot.
that was going to, yeah, a lot.
He's the only person on the planet who would have done that.
Listen, did he lie? No, he did not. Did he tell the truth? Yes. Did he tell the whole truth?
What, did he get sworn in?
Not so much.
No, he answered the question.
Nothing but the truth. Well, the whole truth is I go to every one. A lot.
Well, maybe he might have been sick a game or two. It happens. It's flu season.
I played for the team, so of course would have also been a correct answer.
Okay, but I don't remember the young lady who did it. But at least she didn't stereotype, oh, tall black guy, you must play ball.
That's a true story.
Right. She was dumped on for that.
She was. And she went on social media, and actually somebody dug up the thing and made fun of herself and acknowledged
Might
it.
as well. You were caught.
Yeah.
But at least she didn't stereotype, oh, every black guy who's 6'5", 6'6", must be a ball player, can't be a doctor or what have you.
Yep.
So she didn't buy into that.
She didn't.
She didn't know there was no racial profiling.
And she got no credit for that.
And
well, she did get some credit because obviously you're giving her credit.
Yeah,
but until now, she got no credit for that.
Is she gone?
She took a job in Orlando.
Okay.
Last I heard, that's where she was.
I hope she brushed up on the Magic.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they make the news people do the sports there.
Probably. That was more of a man on the street thing.
There's a sportsman on the street.
Yeah, okay. You can go there if you want. I can see that. But my guess is she'll never make that mistake again. And I love how she asked him, could you spell my name? Could you spell your name? Spell my name? Yeah. J-O-R. Yeah. I remember talking to Joe, and Joe likes that type of stuff.
He does.
It was off the charts funny for him.
Well, Joe told us multiple times how much he loved Jordan as a teammate. I mean, we could get him on right now, and he'd be going nuts.
Oh, did you go to any Jazz games?
Yeah, a lot.
There it is. Thanks, Jacques.
Oh, my gosh. No one else ever born
Could have pulled that off.
would even try it.
This is a thing of beauty.
Well, and to answer it,
it was
like,
incredible.
Not take like offense to it.
Oh, no, he's not going to.
Well, yeah, but it's just very few people would answer the way that he answered it.
She happens to run into him out on the street. Right? That's all it was. It was just a random.
You're right. It was.
Bump
She was
into
over
him.
as a man on the street situation.
She was at City Creek, I believe.
And he's over there shopping or getting something to eat or whatever he's doing. And only Jordan Clarkson could have pulled that off. That was hilarious.
Another moment a lot of people reference. Shelley says when Joe Ingles presented Clarkson with the Sixth Man of the Year award.
No question.
I miss Joe and I miss Jordan as well. I loved that team.
Yeah, so did I. It was a fun team. It was a fun time, man. I know they didn't win it all. They didn't even get out of the second round, but still, there were a lot of good times. And Joe bringing us in through our radio station and his show, bringing us into his life, and everybody feeling empathy and knowing someone who knows someone, or your kid or your neighbor's kid or whatever it is. And that was like the greatest connection in the modern times after not when the team first got here and was trying to find its identity in the Frank Lade and what time's the game, what time would be here, that type of thing. After it had established, I don't think there's ever been a connection as deep as that team with Joe and Jordan, in a sense, not necessarily leading the way, but being significant parts of it. And then Joe's wife serving on boards in the community and all that stuff. I mean, that fans, understandably, especially here, loved it. Absolutely loved it. I would go. My neighbor's kids were of high school age at that time, and I still. But he's out. Joe is aged out. But during that time, I would go, and my wife teaches high school. I would go see high school basketball games, something to do on a Tuesday or Friday night in the winter, and they'd see the programs. And they'd have the kids there, favorite song, favorite TV show, favorite player, and to see Joe and Jordan's names listed. Because there was that connection there, man. It's incredible.
Easily the best connection of the 21st century Jazz history.
You think the Jazz
the 1900s
would be
is
begging
different.
us to try to recreate that? You know what I mean?
They do. But no.
Yeah.
No. I think that connection was super valuable to the team. Just unbelievably... I would think if I owned a sports team in any sport, I would want that connection.
Right.
You know, and the NFL's rolling in the money. And I'd still want that connection for my team.
And he brought Niang on.
Yes.
And they cracking each other,
they
taking
were,
shots at each other. Yeah. You just, that was one of a kind error.
And those two sitting there on TNT, and Jordan Clarkson had no idea it was coming, and they had the trophy just off camera. And
I remember it.
Joe, who was the runner-up in the sixth man voting, hands it to him, and it was a good moment.
It was. And both those guys deserved it. They were good ball players, and for what Quinn Snyder was asking them to do, they did it very well.
Yep. They were both playing at a really high level that year.
Yeah.
Now, I think that Storm and Norman gives a slightly more nuanced take. And he's right, and references what you just said there. Storm and Norman at Johnny Lingo, flame throwing. He helped us win a lot of games. And we probably had some negative effects of flame throwing too. But I'll remember the good side.
I think we should remember the good side.
I think it's a really on point, honest take from Storman right there. There were negative effects of flame throwing. They were nice. He went out there and, it didn't go in. And he just kept shooting it.
Okay, that's on the coach.
Well, and I think that there's a couple different things. I think to Jordan's credit, I think he altered his game over time. When he first got here, man, he was unrepentant. He got that ball and it was going up. But when he first got here, the bench wasn't as good either. You know, they added to the bench. So you get a couple years in, 3 years in or whatever, there's more good players on the floor with him. The bench was pretty close to a disaster when they got him. But Joe evolves and grows into a bigger role, and they had some other guys. You mentioned Niang, and he did become a better passer, and he did share the ball more. And there was, he could still get hot and come down and hit 3 shots on 3 straight possessions, and Locke would be screaming flamethrowing again.
Yeah, and not even be open, but still have a make
Oh, yeah. Just when I see him making buckets, I see him in the paint.
Very creative.
Pivoting, like off the wrong foot, whatever. Yeah. Throw it up high and soft and let that thing bounce around 4 or 5 times before it goes in.
Yeah, he had a unique ability to be able to put the ball on the floor, get into the heart of the teeth of the defense, and then still find a way to get off a decent shot. He was creative in that way. But I don't blame him on the missed shots. I remember we had Pace in here one time, and he was talking about Hayward emerging, and he said,
"Oh yeah, you're right."
Pace said, "There's a shot that he has to take, and he has to have confidence, and he has to believe it's going to win, and if the coach doesn't want him to take that shot, then take him out. But he has to take it every time."
Yep.
And that really stuck with me, a player's mindset of what the player needs to be thinking as the ball is approaching to him and the move and the spot on the floor. He's got to take that shot.
That is not a random comment from Pace. That is something that is like a core basketball belief, and it's based on his own. He thought it's based on his own experience. He just thought he deferred too much when he got to the NBA, trying to be a good teammate, making the extra pass. And then he realized, they all say they want that, but they really want the ball to go in the bucket, and they reward the guys who put the ball in the bucket. And he wishes he had absorbed that message a little earlier.
Right. And he was speaking on the development and the advancement of Hayward's game. And so the way I look at it, if Quinn didn't want Jordan to shoot it, tell him don't shoot it or take him out. Well,
when he showed up, they really, really needed that. Then we got this guy, Utah Jazz fan here, who says, Jordan's triple-double. January 1, 2024. I was fortunate enough to be there with my dad, and I loved the atmosphere of cheering so loudly when he got it.
I remember. Yeah. The broadcast was making it noteworthy.
Yep.
Yeah, that's fine.
And Professor says, JC is a vibe. Yeah. Not one moment, just kind of the way he was. Now, for all the way he was moments of the goofy stuff, probably the Man on the Street interview's got to be right there. But right behind it, there was a road game that had to delay. I think they were in Oklahoma. He gets underneath the camera, and the players are just standing around. And he gets underneath the camera, and he brings his face up, and he's way too close to the lens. Who else would do that? I just remember laughing, Pop.
I think what's important to note about him, and this is one of the reasons why I loved what he was about, is it's basketball, but it's entertainment.
And he knew that.
And he was entertaining, sometimes for better or worse, but he was entertaining. And when I turn on the television, I want to be entertained, whether I'm watching a movie, a sitcom, Saturday Night Live, basketball, football. I want to be entertained. All right? And he entertained you. And that was that. He's an entertainer. And if you're in the entertainment business, there's all sorts of ways in which you do that. His was hoop.
Yep. Well, the other thing that's really important to you is how people treat the fans, especially the younger fans, the kids. And you have experiences where people have just thoroughly embraced and made your kid feel really important, and you love that. And also, people avoiding you in elevators, and you thought it was typical and kind of hilarious, but not good either at the same time. And we got this, Jim sent this in. JC, my favorite moment, JC saw my daughter was wearing one of his vintage Clarkson Funhouse hoodies and pulled her aside to take a pic. Class.
Nice.
And there he is. He's got time for the fans.
Yeah.
And ready to go. He's smiling. She's taking a selfie with him.
That's what matters.
There you go.
That's what you'll remember. You're going to remember the missed shots. No. You're going to remember how somebody made you feel, how you cheered. And in the end, I think, and I'm a guy who I've evolved on this position, but in the end, the journey matters a lot. Everybody wants the final result. I get it. I understand it. I want my team to have it too. But how about the journey? How many good times did you have along the way? You look at the Sun Devils. They lose that overtime game last year. I was smiling like crazy because I just went and thought of all the phenomenal times that their fans had last year and where it was, where it began and where it ended. And that was pretty sweet. And it doesn't end with the last team standing. Those are for the Ohio States of the world where it's either yes or no. And if it's no, it's a total waste of time.
DJ PK, stay with us. Coming up, down memory lane we go in the 8 o'clock hour. Stay with us, Jazz fans, right here on The Zone.